Now, as we all know, the New Orleans Saints have been a pretty good team for quite a while now. But ever since we heard the sad news about Drew Brees deciding to retire from the NFL, things look different for the Saints. But are they still good enough to make the playoffs? How is everybody doing today? It's Sports Hollow back with another video, and today we're going to talk about the New Orleans Saints and if they are still capable of making the playoffs or not. Before we get into this video, guys, I would just like you all to know that we are getting really close to 500 subscribers. And I've been doing YouTube since 2017, and it's kind of crazy that we're already getting close to 500 subscribers. So if you're new to the channel, what are you waiting for? Hit that subscribe button to help us get there quicker, because even if you just subscribe once, one person subscribing will help out the grind. So if you're new and you see that there's a red button next to my name, please make sure to click it and turn it gray. But anyways, let's not waste any time and let's get straight into it. Now, the first thing we should look at is who will be the new quarterback of the New Orleans Saints. Now, I think there are two guys you could choose from. It could either be Jameis Winston or it could be Taysom Hill. Now, here's the problem with having Taysom Hill as the starting quarterback. Hill had 6 fumbles in 4 starts last year, which isn't great. And the problem with Hill is that he may be able to throw, rush, run, return punts and kickoffs, but having him as a QB is not really the type of person he is. Which is why I think the Saints should consider starting Jameis Winston. Now, Winston may not be the first pick of the draft everyone thought he would be, but he still is a pretty decent QB. Before he was on the New Orleans Saints, he played on the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, and he was pretty good in 2019. He threw for over 5,000 yards and had 33 touchdowns. But there was one huge problem, which is really why Winston's season was still pretty good, but not great. He threw 30 interceptions. Now, I do admit, having 5,000 yards and 33 touchdowns is amazing and hard to do. But throwing 30 interceptions is not great at all and is a huge problem. So, that's a lot of interceptions. But for now, I think Winston could be a decent replacement for Drew Brees. And he'll have to do anything he can as a starting QB. If he could try to limit the interceptions and do the same thing he did in 2019, he should be good to go. Now that we've looked at the quarterback, let's take a look at the offensive line of the Saints last year. And it was pretty good. According to PFF, the Saints had the 8th best offensive line in the NFL last year. Yeah, that's pretty good. They had an extremely good tackling duo with Terron Armstead and Ryan Ramczyk, who are a really good duo. But it wasn't just those guys who were good. There was also Andrews Pete, Cesar Ruiz, and Nick Easton, who all had over 40% pass blocking grade. So when it comes to the offensive line, the Saints shouldn't be too worried about it. Now let's take a look at their defensive line. Their defensive line was ranked 13th in the league last year. And one man that stood out on top for the Saints when it comes to that defensive line is a man by the name of Cameron Jordan. He had 83 total pressures last year, and this was his 5th straight season having over 70 of them. But there's also Marcus Davenport, who has been progressing pretty well. And then there's Sheldon Rankins, who is an extremely talented player when he's healthy. And just to mention one more guy, if you're not impressed yet, how about David Onyemeta, who is one huge piece of the Saints' defensive line. Now, that's just their defensive line. Their whole defense was ranked 4th in the league last year. These guys have one of the best defenses in the league. Now, there is one man on the Saints that I think if the Saints use him when needed and use him properly, they should have a pretty good season. His name is Alvin Kamara. Kamara had an incredible year last year. He ran for 932 yards and had 16 touchdowns. And those rushing yards was a career high for him. If the Saints keep running the ball like this, Kamara should get close to 1,000 yards and maybe even past that. He is an amazing running back. For wide receivers, there's also a guy by the name of Michael Thomas, who was one of the best wide receivers in the NFL. Last year, he did play only 7 games due to a suspension. But when the guy was out there, he has to be a top 10 wide receiver in the league. The Saints also have a pretty good coach by the name of Sean Payton, who they have had for quite a long time now and actually helped them win a Super Bowl in 2009. Okay, I think I've said enough about this team. They're really good. But let's answer this one question. After losing Drew Brees due to retirement, who was one of the best quarterbacks we have ever seen, will the Saints still be capable of making the playoffs? Well, here's what I think. If the Saints start Jameis Winston over Taysom Hill, I think they'll either just get into the playoffs or they'll just miss it. It all depends on the injuries and Jameis Winston's performance. If I had to predict a record, I'd say it'd either be 9-7 or 8-8. And if they were to start Taysom Hill, I would see them having around 6-7 wins. Because, like I said the first time, I don't think Hill would be the right guy to start as a starting quarterback. But besides the quarterbacks, the Saints are perfectly fine. They're looking really good. Their offensive line is one of the best in football, and their defense and defensive line are also one of the best in football. Okay, maybe not the defensive line, but you get the idea. The Saints have a really good defense. In my opinion, it all depends on how the QB does. And I think they should start Jameis Winston, so it all depends on how Jameis Winston does this next season. That is going to be it for today's video, guys. Thanks for watching. I hope you enjoyed. If you're new to the channel, you already know what to do. Hit that subscribe button. Also, consider leaving a like on this video. It really helps out the algorithm. And as always, I'll see you all next time. I'm out.